What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. My name is Tdawgg, and today we will be talking about what a default is in the game of Valorant. So the first thing I want to mention is I've been meaning to make educational content for a minute here. I'm slowly getting around it, kind of getting my ideas, getting things in order. And today we're going to be starting out with this video. What is a default? The simple definition, the textbook definition of a default, is gathering map control while holding extremities. Map control usually being in the middle area where you can cause rotations, potentially take a fight, look for a first blood, etc. We're going to be talking about what you should be doing on a default and why you should be doing it. And I do want to take a second to shout out all the people who have been throwing my ranked games day after day. These videos are inspired by you. Thank you for being you, because without you, I wouldn't be here today. So if you have a teammate that's throwing, a brother, a cousin, a sister, a friend, a teammate who doesn't know how to default, you could level up their gameplay by sharing this video with them. Make sure that you do that. This is a resource to you. So again, today, what is a default? A default is where you take map control, primarily in the middle area, while you hold extremities. Now, a lot of you may understand that already, but you don't necessarily know what to do or where to go on a default, and that is what we're going to be talking about today, starting with the map Bind. Bind has four lanes, and it doesn't have a true middle. You can rotate quick with the teleporters. You can also rotate quick in CT spawn, uncontested. Something that's very common on this map, in a default, is a Raze working hookah. Usually this Roomba is thrown, they follow it, they wait until it scans the left. If there's a scan on the left, you nade the left. If there's no scan, that means they could be on the right. You throw your nade, you get hookah control. A benefit of the Agent Raze is you aren't necessarily alone. You have your Roomba. Your Roomba will take that first contact for you. Your Roomba will detect where they are, and you have abilities to flush people out of corners, push people off angles, etc. So again, I just wanted to use hookah as an example here on where you should be going based on the utility that you have. Raze is fine going long, or showers, or short, but it just gets a little less value than it does with hookah. If you do want to trade it out for a Sky or a Fade or something that can get control of hookah, that's perfectly fine. But again, when we're talking in this pug scenario, this ranked scenario, this is a staple of a default that you want to pay attention to if you're a Raze player. So now what I want to go into here is the Valiplant, okay? This is a website called Valiplant. If you've never heard of this, you haven't seen it, there's a link in the description. It's a free website you can use. You can drag the agents around, learn the abilities, see how far they go, etc. But again, we're talking about defaulting today. So like I mentioned earlier with the 4 lanes, this is a map where there isn't really a true mid. So in the call of a default, you kind of want to decide what you want to get control of. What do you want to fight for? What do you want to look for that first blood? Where do you want to do it? So a very common spot is shower, a very pivotal part of this map, because whoever gets shower control is really in control of the rotates. So if the CTs or the defenders were to smoke this out and molly it, we don't really have any info other than our guy Short A, right? We can't really tell how many people are here. We can't really tell, what util is being used. And I do want to take a second to cover that, is with defaulting, our goal is to gather information and find out what is being used where we're slowly counting how many people are in a certain position on the map. For instance, if we have a Brim Smoke here, a Sova Dart coming all the way down, and we have maybe a Raze is in hookah this round, and he throws his Roomba, and it comes out here. We now know that there are 3 people towards the B site at least. There could be more, but we know that there's 3 there at least. Now we can formulate a plan. And that is the goal of a default, is when you gather that information and when you find out what abilities and utility are being used, you react. It influences the mid-round and basically the post-round decision on, okay, what's our plan going to be? A lot of people do have a problem reacting to that information. So again, we're going to kind of go through and make some examples on some different maps where you should be positioning yourself and why. So when it comes to initiators, you never really want to be by yourself unless there is a call made. Maybe you're faking, maybe you're trying to drone out an opper or flash an opper, push him off the angle, whatever the case is. You want to be supporting someone. You want to be initiating a fight or map control through the power of your utility, like flashes, like drones. So again, this is usually paired with the power of push to talk. You can hit a key on your keyboard and it activates your microphone, and you can communicate with the teammate, hey, I'm going to do this round. You can come with me, or you could just tell them straight up, hey, I need you to go here. I'm going to do that. You're going to do this. Again, we're making a game plan. With the default, we're gathering information. We're applying it, and it's influencing our mid-round decision. So when it comes to those initiator roles, that's kind of where you should be looking. Is you want to be looking to support someone. You want to be looking to get active. You want to be using your mic. It's a really, really strong tool. When it comes to the Sentinel role, you're usually going to be on your own. The Sentinel role, it is very important to deny information utility or bait information utility. So what I mean by that is this. So if we're not necessarily doing a default, or maybe we're doing an A heavy default, and we know that their sky flashes long B every round, what's going to happen if this flash gets no scans? The sky is either going to push and find out that no one is B and A will be stacked, or the sky will fast rotate to A instead of pushing. And what we're working on with the default is forcing respect. We don't want people to rotate. We don't want people to stack sites. We don't want people to get away with stuff for free, like grabbing alt orbs, saving utility, over-rotating. All those things are preventable through the power of a default. And again, if you're kind of lost or I'm going too fast, you could pause the video, rewind. I'm going to be putting chapters down below in the description as well. But again, on that Sentinel role, you want to be breaking that Sova Dart. You want to be getting scanned by that Sky Flash. You kind of want to be your team's plan B more often than not. So a really good example of that is on this map, Haven. So let's say we have something along the lines of this going on. Maybe my Fade is throwing her Eye in mid. My Sky and Razer are working Garage, and my Omen is holding C. I know that we have skipped the Duelist and the Controller role in my explanation, but I'm going to get to that. My Cypher here, a very common thing to do is to cage A long. Another very common thing that happens in this game is a Sova darting A lobby. You don't want that Sova to grab the alt orb and run away because you never broke his dart, right? He knows that no one's close. You want to break that dart. Some rounds you want to cam short. Some rounds you want to cam A long. You want to deny them getting posted up. You want them to deny being able to do all those things for free, like grab alt orbs, rotates, walk pushing, etc. You want your presence to be known. You want your presence to be respected to where, again, they can't really get any advantage. They're not really in the know. You've thrown a cage off. You've blocked their vision. You've broken their recon dart. They don't really know where to go from that other than to hold and respect it. There could be 5 people behind that cage. There could be 0. The only way to find out is to sit there and wait. And again, that's what we're pushing when it comes to defaults. So if you're a Sentinel player, that's going to be your role usually on a default. Chamber is a little different. Chamber isn't really a textbook Sentinel. It's going to be a lot of times where Chamber's taking first engagements. And if you're a Chamber player, I'd honestly recommend that you listen to the Duelist Perfecto when it comes to what you should be doing on a default. And that's what we're going to get into next here. Now, as a Duelist player, I know we're not on bind anymore. It doesn't matter. It changes up by the map. Haven's the example I'm going with. You want to be the guy leading. You want to be the guy taking fights, creating space while communicating with your initiator, communicating with your controller. What utility do you want where? What are you going to do this round? How about we take Garage, another pivotal part of a map where people have to respect it. They can't over-rotate. They have to be scared of it. I can ask my Sky Tdawgg, and he takes me into Garage and he breaks the trip. Now I'm in here. Now I'm in here. I can get this vision line if I want into C, and I can look for a kill here, or I can just completely get past that and I can jump in this window. When I'm in this window, I can hear everything around me on C and B. Rotates. I can hear certain agents' footsteps. Maybe that's a hard tell. Maybe Sky never plays C and Sky's C. Let's go back A. Again, on a default, we're looking for that info. We're looking for the abilities or whatever's being exchanged to where we can build that plan and we can react in the mid round. Now, when it comes to not defaulting, the reason that defaulting is so important and understanding where to go is because if I were to 5 rush A at the start of the round, I could run into 4 people. I could run into 3 people. I could run into an alt setup. I could run into a trap. Your goal on that default is to poke and prod. You're not necessarily looking to take a fight and plant the bomb. You're trying to gather info to where you can make a decision that is in the highest percent chance success rate in theoretics, right? So again, what I talked about with counting people, if I get that garage control, right, and the enemy has, you know, an Astra, a chamber, and a KO over here, we know that there's at least 3C. So what does that mean? That means that something needs to be holding B site. It could be a trip. It could be a person, right? So now we still have at least 3 people C. But let's say that our raise in garage, here's a rotator, this breach coming over. This breach is stomping. He's getting ready to help on the C push. We now know that there's 4 here. Me as the duelist, I haven't taken a fight. I haven't gotten a first blood. I haven't aced and posted to TikTok tagging every professional player that is in the lobby. What I can do is use my push to talk button to tell my teammates that there's max one guy A. He could be pushed up into the cubby by long. He could be hiding short. He could be on this line holding the cross. But we know that there's only one A, so we can run a 4v1 at A rather than just 5 hitting it off the bat. So another thing that we're going to be talking about is that controller role. That's the one thing that I really haven't highlighted. On your controller role, you usually won't necessarily be with the team at all times. When it comes to a rush or like a really hard control play, it's common that you're there. You should be there. You're on that refragger, that rifle role, where you want to place your util, you want to use it. Your duelist is going to go in with your initiator, and you're going to be that third guy in that's refragging. You're killing the guys that are looking at them. You're getting those trades, right? So, you know, something along the lines that happens a lot in Ascent is, you know, let's do this, right? We have our we have our cat smoke, we have our B push turret, and we have our bottom mid dart. This is a really, really common, you know, thing that happens on Ascent, where the initiator is usually with the jet. Sova, also another initiator with the jet. And I'm Omen. I'm just holding this. I'm just holding the extremity. I don't need to walk up and peek this one-way smoke that's always thrown if I'm being denied here. I don't need to walk up and peek this and die. Why? Why don't I need to peek that? Number one, the control play is being made in the middle part of the map because we're defaulting. If I were to die, that means that I've only gotten 1 smoke out for my team. If I'm to live, I can get 5 or 6 smokes out in a round if I want, depending on how it's played out. If it's very slow, or maybe we pick up the pace, we take a bomb site, and now we're in a post plant. It's very beneficial that you understand what your role is in a default. And again, on that controller role, it's more often than not that you're holding an extremity and you're more passive. And like I mentioned earlier, in other rounds you will be activated and you will be put in that, you know, hit where you're doing, you know, 3, 4, or 5-person hit because you have some ults or you have a read. But again, when you're in a default like this, you want to have your players to have freedom, which is working the map. Some rounds, you know, Killjoy's going to peek off this turret. Some rounds she's not going to. Some rounds I'm going to fake a TP in A main, acting like I'm in there. Some rounds I'm not going to. And again, this is all about creating that respect. This also creates placebo control, which is fake control, doing the same thing over and over again, but the outcome isn't the same. So again, that fake TP that I mentioned, you know, another common setup on this map is 2 people fighting A main on defense. So let's say this Brim drops a one-way and the KO is fighting. You do a fake TP that, you know, they think that you went into this corner, but you actually just TP'd right here on the ground, and this KO bounces his nade off the wall into here, right? Trying to clear you out. You've traded for utility. You're doing your job well. You're getting value out of that placebo control. Those guys are respecting that you could be across, and they're going to try to punish that. So again, you want to base your decisions on, you know, how you're involved in the round. Is it good for me to die first? Is it bad for me to die first? Should I be taking a fight here? How passive have I been? How aggressive have I been? It's another big part about it is mixing it up. Because when you mix it up, that is conditioning. When you do the same util, or you do the same thing when you have a certain ult, you condition the enemy team to think that that will happen again. Okay, these guys always go 3 mid when they do this dart and this smoke. So there's going to be a round where maybe we have KO ult, and we don't do this. My Sova darts top mid, or bottom mid. My Omen smokes cat. they think that we're working mid as 3 again. Maybe their change to their defense is to have a KO come through the smoke with a flash. But they don't know that we're actually all walking in A main. And my Sova's going to drone me through, and my KO is going to ult, and we're going to run and get the bomb down. That's conditioning. Using utility in a manner to where they see what happens when you use it, and they adapt. And you want to beat them to that punch, again, through the power of the default. Now, it does change on each map. There are going to be maps where less utility is common. Icebox is a big one. So more often than not, your Sova will dart this wall to make sure nobody pushes. Your Reyna and your Jet are going to walk up. Sova's going to drone for them. And you guys are going to look for fights in sight. This is a map where utility isn't really baited out that much, especially in pugs. You usually have 2 duelists on this map. You're looking to take those fights, and you got to be able to communicate properly with that initiator, telling them what you need. I need a dart here. I need a drone here. And if you're not the one saying it, I hope that they are, because you need that communication. That's the secret to the default, is the communication. Because while you're doing that, the Viper throws his orb here, and he can get into kitchen, and he can listen for rotates, or he can get in the orb, and he can flank fast A, or he can go under the tube. My chamber is sitting here. Maybe he has a trip like this, and he's holding, this side from garage. He's making sure that they cannot be through B. They cannot flank us. And if they do, he is there to punish, right? So again, when it comes to a default, to recap, you are looking for map control while holding the extremities. It doesn't always have to be holding the extremities. Sometimes you won't work mid. Sometimes you'll work A main or B main, and you'll be holding mid instead of an extremity, right? Our goal with this is to gather information, see what util is being used, make a plan for our mid-round decision. What's our next step? Are we going to go here? Are we going to go there? Are we going to fake this? Are we going to fake that? Am I going to take a fight? Am I going to bait more util? What's my next play? What that does, it forces respect. They can't insta-rotate. They can't grab these orbs. They can't walk push, because if they do, they'll be punished for it. We're setting ourselves up for that. And with that, that influences placebo control and conditioning, things that you can take advantage of, using the same util, but doing something else, baiting them, right? With that, we get away from gambling. When you don't default, it's a gamble. You could run into a trap. You could run into a stack. You want to prod a little bit, find out who's where, find out why they're there, go back to that weak side, hit it together, trade out. And again, what this does, it allows your players to have more freedom. People can go faster, they can go slower, they can do the same thing, they can do a different thing. Everybody's involved in the plan, and that's the most important part, is it gets everybody going. Nobody's sitting around getting told what to do and why to do it. You can take initiative. You can call that you're going to use util here. You can call that you want util there. Hey, I'm going to go aggressive this round. Hey, I'm going to be passive this round. Get my trade. Peek this with me. That's what we're trying to get at. Again, defaulting is a huge part of the game. I want to make sure that everybody has an understanding on how to do it. I'm going to be doing more educational content soon when it comes to certain terms and certain plays, what you should be doing on a map. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. If you have any suggestions, please leave them down below. If you have any ideas on what you want me to cover when it comes to YouTube, please leave it all down below. I appreciate every one of you for watching. Thank you all so much. I really hope you did enjoy. It was fun making. And again, these are just going to get better and more in depth. Bear with me. I'm taking my time. But again, thank you for watching. I'm Tdawgg. I'm out of here. Deuces.